This is Cruise Radio.
Cruise Radio is brought to you in part by tripinsurance.com. Travel insurance done right by the people who know travel insurance. Get a quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go. Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Ken and Andrea just returned from a 11-night cruise. It was a repositioning cruise. It went from Tampa up to Boston, 11 nights, and they're here to talk all about it. Hi, Ken. Hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Hi.
I always love it when we have a couple, giving the review together, kind of his view, her view type thing here. So I'm excited to jump into Norwegian Jewel. But before we do that, we're going to take a step back. Now, you're in the New Hampshire area. What made you want to take this 11-night repositioning cruise from Tampa to Boston?
Well, being in New Hampshire, we sailed in 2022 from Boston to Bermuda, the round trip sailing. And we loved the fact it was just so great to be able to just come back home really quickly. And then we're like, okay, let's try to get on another cruise. And about 6 months goes by, and we found this repositioning cruise, which I remember saying to Andrea, do you want to go on a 12-night cruise or a 12-day cruise? She said,
Definitely. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it ends in Boston? Even better.
Yeah, so that's why we did that. We're like, let's do it. And, it was about a year and a half before the sailing, and we booked it and started saving for it. And, that's why we took this one, because coming back to Boston is really simple for us because we're only like 45 minutes away.
Yeah, and
it worked out great.
And we were chatting that this you've done Royal Caribbean, Carnival, MSC, and this is your second Norwegian Cruise Line ship here. So with that said, you make your way down from the New Hampshire area down to Tampa. Any pre-cruise time before boarding, Jewel?
Yeah, so we flew in 2 days prior. The ship left on a Sunday. We flew in on Friday. My cousin lives down in Clearwater, and we have friends that just moved down to the Tampa area. So we flew down 2 days before just to hang out and be with them. And it worked out really good because
there was a storm that some people were missing their flights, delayed flights, because in the end of March, in New England, we still get snowstorms.
Yeah. So we were glad we did that, So having the pre-cruise time, we always try to do that the few times we've sailed, the day before, just to make sure we get there. Yeah.
Yeah,
so that was
nice. Cool. You make your way to the cruise pier to board Norwegian Jewel. How long did it take you from the curb to the ship, and how was the embarkation process for a repositioning cruise?
I would say it took us probably about an hour from when we got there. They have a really good program where they give you like a time, and they don't let people get in line until then. They kind of put you like in a queue. And then let you in once your time slot comes. And it seemed pretty seamless.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there. And I found out the ship was full, which I was really surprised by from being a repositioning cruise. But so it didn't take that long. They have this place where you drive up and then it's covered and then they take your bags and then you just walk in, then get in line. Yeah. So it really wasn't bad at all. It just took about an hour just because of a lot of people. We met some people in line. We just started talking. So it went by fast. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah, there was traffic in the city, just like any city, but it was a Sunday around noon, so it really wasn't that bad, So that's how we got there. Yeah.
And then your impressions boarding this one. Now, you've said that you've done Norwegian Pearl before, and of course, Jewel is in that same class. But what were your impressions walking on board Jewel?
I think it was... Well, it's funny. I've seen a lot of people video themselves getting onto the ship, and it's a grand entrance, like Disney does it or other ships. This is just sort of like they dump you into the atrium. It's okay, but it looked clean. It looked pretty. It looked like it was organized.
We were greeted right away by people.
Yeah, and we made our way to the muster station where they basically just say, did you watch the video? And we said, yep, we did.
Good, check you off.
So that was sort of our first impression. I was like, okay, this is fine. And we had been on this class ship before, so I expected, what happened, So, but the impression was, okay, I felt like I was, okay, I remember going on a ship like this, 3 years ago and cool, we're back on one, so let's do it. Let's go. That's sort of the impression we got.
I'm trying to think, is Jewel the one when you're in the atrium and you look up, there's like the crystals kind of hanging there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. Yes, there are.
Awesome.
And there's a nice staircase goes up to where Oceans is, and then there's a big screen and also where they, play music and stuff like that. So yeah, that's sort of how the atrium is. It was very pretty.
Yeah.
It was, it's a great way to kick off the trip saying, okay, this is a beautiful area. Let's go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you make your way to your stateroom for this 11-night sailing. What did you think of it throughout the voyage?
Oh, it was nice. I mean, it was perfect size for the two of us. We had a little balcony. Bathroom was small, but most of them are.
Yeah.
But a good shower.
Yeah. It was midship on the 10th deck balcony. Yeah. So we knew there was, just rooms above us and below us, which is why we chose that. Mm-hmm. We had a travel agent help us with that. I got a tip from somebody once. They said, when you get in and you meet your cabin steward, ask them if they'll bring in a coffee maker. So we said, could we get a coffee maker in our room? And he's like, sure. So nice. He brought it like later on. It's one of those like hotel style ones.
Mm-hmm. Small.
But I liked it because it was nice to be able to get up in the morning and just have a coffee and sit on the balcony, So that was good. For a 12-night sailing or 11-night sailing, we were a little crowded at times. We probably overpacked.
Oh, definitely.
So, the storage is, it's limited where you can store stuff. The suitcases fit under the bed, which was good.
That was good.
Very clean. Nothing was broken.
No.
Right. The only weird thing is they have this above, like one of the countertops in the main area. They have this really like big, like, I don't want to call it a makeup mirror, but like this big mirror that's lit. It's like backlit. And there's this tiny little button that turns it on and off on the bottom that's always illuminated. So at night, it like keeps you awake. So you have to like...
It's like a little night light.
Yeah, so you got to like put something in front of it. It was really weird.
With you being on the 10th floor there midship, and I believe like the pool is on, 12, I think, on this one. Did you hear anything, even though you had like a hallway buffering you, a deck buffering you, did you hear anything like moving deck chairs or anything late at night?
No. Not that I can remember. No.
Okay.
The only thing I could hear was every once in a while you'd hear like water going through the plumbing system or something going through the plumbing system, right? So that was the only thing that was weird to me. I'd hear that at night, but you fall asleep sooner or later.
Yeah,
that was probably the only strange noise I heard. The hallways, people late at night are walking down the halls, being a little loud, but nothing crazy. It was pretty quiet. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the food on this 11-night cruise, and we'll start at the buffet area, the Garden Cafe, as NCL calls it. What did you think of the quality of food in there, and did it ever feel too crowded during your sailing?
I wouldn't say that it was that we ever felt it was too crowded. That was one of the nice things about it. Food, very good variety. I like to eat a lot of different things. I'm the picky eater.
So for me, it was great. They had Indian food. They had, a carving station. They had hot foods, burgers, pizza, dogs, salad bars, soups. And they had them in multiple places, the same thing. So it was really, I think it was really well done.
Yeah. And as a picky eater, I was always able to find something to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was a good variety of stuff.
And then in the back of the ship, they have a place called the Great Outdoors, which is an outdoor dining area where in the morning they have breakfast out there too. So that's, if it was morning, we'd go out there and get our food and sit out there if the weather was good. And then when at lunch or dinner, if we eat lunch or dinner in there, we'd also make our way back there. Yeah. We saw some great sunsets back there eating dinner, So I think the buffet was great. I was totally happy with it. No problems. Right?
You mentioned that it never really felt too crowded in there. And if I'm not mistaken, this class of ship, it's not the buffet on both sides, correct? It's just right there on the starboard side just one side, and then you have like the other side is what the Italian restaurant maybe, and the kids club, I think.
Yes, you're correct.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's how it is.
As far as dining on this one, now NCL always has the more at sea or free at sea, depending on when you book this. What did you think of their main dining rooms? And then we'll talk about any specialty restaurants you might have dined at throughout your sailing.
They have two main dining rooms. One is called Tsar's Palace, and the other one is Azul, I think it is. Tsar's Palace is the big one. There's just a lot of seating in there. We ate there for lunch on embarkation day, which was sort of neat, going to be able to sit down and relax, right? And the food was decent, small servings, but enough. We ate there for breakfast one morning, which was not good. The service was not great, and the food was just but it was okay.
But it also was really busy.
It was very
busy there.
Yeah.
That happened to just be one of the very busy mornings for breakfast.
And then we had dinner one of the nights with some friends at Azul. The other one, very good food. I mean, I was impressed with it. Everything was really good. The service was a little slow, but, there's a lot of people all at once. We were eating at busy times, so that was expected. But, they made things right if there was a problem. Yeah, so the main dining rooms, I mean, you don't have a set dining time. You have anytime dining. So we just went when we could, and we were able to get seated pretty quick. So I never really saw a problem with that.
I was going to ask you, how did you know which one to go to? Because you had two of them, and since it's not like set dining, you don't have like a dining room on your card, do you?
No, correct. We just could go to whenever one we wanted to, whenever.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make reservations for them. But the way we determined which one was really one of the nights we went to the Azul one. I'm probably saying that wrong.
Yeah.
But was with some friends of ours. They're like, hey, why don't you come with us? And that's the one they recommended. So it was really, I forgot about the Azul one a lot. I was thinking of the other one all the time. But it was the same menu, just
a little different atmosphere.
Yeah. So
could you tell any difference in the food quality from when you sailed Pearl a couple of years earlier?
Yeah, about the same.
I don't recall anything major. We also ate a couple times in Oceans, which is their 24-hour Irish pub, which was really good. Their food is pretty excellent there. They have a lot of like pub food, right? And that was good.
That's my favorite place.
Yeah, it's great.
That was good. They have breakfast there too, which was good. It was a nice change of pace for breakfast. If you don't want to do the buffet, you could go there too. And they're open 24 hours, I think.
How about specialty dining on this 11 night? Did you hit up any restaurants?
Yeah, we did. We went to 3 of them. So we had on our previous sailing on NCL, we had already gone on. We had been to Teppanyaki, Cagney's, and another one. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But this one, we wanted to try something different. So we did the teppanyaki, which was just good food, but just way too much food. Like, it was
so
fun.
Good. So good.
It was just too much food. I was like, just full after. It's not a bad problem to have, right? But, and it was a good entertainment. Then we did the La Cucina. I think La Cucina is the Italian one of the nights with some friends. That was good. The menu was a little weird, though. I expected like an Olive Garden type menu, but there was like one regular red sauce Italian dish was
the lasagna that I had.
Right. And then everything else was just like, I don't know. It wasn't what I expected, but it was good food. I had the salmon, I think, and you had the lasagna. It was good. That one gets bad reviews by people a lot, which I don't understand why. I thought it was fine. And then the other one we went to was the Moderno, the Brazilian steakhouse. That was a new experience for us. That was pretty cool. They bring around the skewers of meat, and they have a salad bar, and you have this little coaster, red or green, depending on if you want more food or less food, or stop feeding me type thing. So that was good. I really enjoyed that because I like a lot of variety. So for me, that was pretty cool. And near the end of it, the waiter came over to us and he said, "Do you want some yellow meat?" We're like, yellow
meat.
I don't want yellow meat.
What? It was the pineapple.
Right.
It was so good.
Yeah, really funny.
It's funny you say that about the La Cucina menu, because I remember going there a few years back. It was right before the shutdown, actually. And I got like the chicken parm and all of that. And then I think when I went there, I think like 22 or 23, they changed the menu on the ship. And it was like the only thing I think I recognized was calamari and one other thing from the entree. Everything else was gone. What did I get myself into?
Weird.
Right.
Yeah.
One cool thing about the buffet I wanted to mention. So they have, when you walk in, they have this washy thing where you got to sanitize your hands. But they had this group of so the guy and two girls, some of the crew. They were walking around in the morning with this plate of pastries and coffee and singing the coffee song. It was just the funniest thing. Anybody that's been on this sailing will know, NCL will know what I mean. It's just really funny. It was just a riot, and I kept seeing these people around the ship. And the guy that was doing it was also our waiter at Moderno.
Yes.
So
yes.
It was pretty cool. I like that.
They were fun people, fun doing.
Yeah, so it's good.
In Moderno, is that on this ship? Is it overlooking the pool, like that second tier area?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it is, and that's where the mojito bar is too.
Right.
Yes.
There's a mojito bar right in there. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like that. We enjoyed the food. However, I have to say, I think the next time we sail in NCL, which is probably the line we'll stick with, because we bought some credits on board. But I don't know if we're going to get the specialty dining next time, because if we can sail without it, we don't need it. It just felt like it was just too much food. Yeah, especially if it's just like a 7-night cruise. Yeah. This was nice because we were able to mix it up a bit, but I'm not sure. Because it's just
the food in the main dining rooms and in the buffet, there was always a good variety, always a good meal. So
it's good to hear.
And we also had room service 2 mornings that we had to be up really early for stuff, and that was good. They were very prompt with that. They gave us all the things we wanted. They were there early, so it was good. The room service there was an upcharge to it, but it wasn't much. So it was worth it.
How was the entertainment on the 11 nights?
Good. Did you like it?
Yeah, the entertainment was good. There was a really funny comedian that one of the nights did in the more adult appropriate on the later portion, and she was spot on. She was good.
Yeah, she was really funny. She did that. She did 2 nights of comedy shows
because it was such a long cruise.
And there was a magician, illusionist.
Oh,
he did 2 shows. He was pretty good, pretty funny. And then they had they had just started a new show like a week prior called Rock the Night or something, which was basically their dance crew. Doing rock songs with a band behind them. So that was neat.
That was neat.
And then they had a Broadway thing, We weren't there that night for it. And a few other things. It was, it wasn't Broadway shows. So, but it was decent. I was, I felt like this is fun. It's I can get a drink and watch a show and just relax. It was fine to me. We're not picky people, right? So it's like we're on a vacation. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy what they have. Also for entertainment, they had, they had a couple different bands that would play in the bars and the lounges and by the pool. They were all really good. Yeah. There was one band that the guitarist I really liked. They were a really good rock band. They did a really good job. I think I forgot their names. And they had the standard, pool games and dancing, and they had the standard games at night. They had one called The Perfect Couple, which was a pretty risque
more adult
thing that there were kids at, and that was a little awkward. But
and they even warned the parents that it was definitely more, for adult, and these people did not take their kids out, but. Hey, everybody has their own choice.
And they had theme nights like an 80s night, 70s night, a white hot party, 90s night.
Yeah.
So, a country dancing night. So they did a lot. I don't know if they do all those things normally on a 7 night, but on a 12 night, I think they stretch it out because there's
more nights.
Yeah. So,
well, since you mentioned about grabbing a drink in the evenings, did you go to like Bar City at all there on deck 6?
Yes. I'm trying to think what the other one was, but yeah.
Magnums. I think it was like a whiskey bar.
A whiskey bar. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That was a good place to go.
Yeah.
And they had good entertainment there.
Yeah.
Comfortable chairs to sit in, was like a lounge style, and you could basically get most any drinks there.
Yeah. It was
the martinis were good.
Oh, definitely.
Just back from a cruise? Let's talk about it. Email Doug at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com. I want to ask you about sea days in just a second, but I'm curious because on this class of ship, I've never really hung out in the atrium. So, past the point of, embarking the ship. At nighttime, let's just say pre or post dinner, can you grab a cocktail in there and maybe watch like a string trio or an acoustic player?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was when there were some there, they would have the little band or a couple, the performer up on the top of the stairs. The atrium stairs, there's like a platform there, and they're up there playing music, and you can just sit there. Yeah, they definitely have that.
And they had a piano, on the floor.
Yep.
Nice guy was playing lots of good music there.
Yeah. One day they did a show in the atrium about how to cut fruit. How to make fruit, decorations out of fruit. That was pretty neat. So. Yeah. There was a lot to do. I don't think there was any lack of things.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't feel that way.
How were the sea days as far as crowds and congestion? We were chatting before we started recording, and you were saying how much you liked this class of ship. So I'm curious if it ever felt too crowded, or was it nicely spaced out on sea days? Give me your thoughts.
Well, the pool was pretty jammed on sea days. Well, it wasn't so jammed once we left Bermuda to go up to Boston because it was like 45 degrees out. But before then, it was jammed. There was a lot of people. Hard to find loungers. There were people probably hogging, lounge chairs, but we didn't spend a lot of time out there, except for the day we embarked, the sail away party. But it was crowded, and I think if you went during the, until like 4:00, it was hard to find a place.
Yeah. But
they have a lot of areas above the pool deck where you can just go like a sun deck, where there's definitely places that you just sit up there.
Yeah.
We had access to the thermal spa, so we bought the pass for the thermal spa for the week. So we were able to get there if we felt it was too crowded. But we didn't really. I didn't feel it was overcrowded.
Yeah.
I really didn't. Except at the pool. Everywhere else, there was plenty of room to walk around and plenty of places to just sit down and relax inside if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt really good about that,
especially for a ship that was
full.
It was a full cruise. So
And question about the thermal suite there. Did you find that you mentioned you went there when things got a little too crowded by the pool or what have you, but did you find that things were calmer in there? And was there like enough heated lounge chairs if you wanted to hop in one when you went in there?
Definitely, I would say it was a lot calmer in there. The difference between going on the Pearl and going on the Jewel was the Jewel had a lack of the warm chairs, the loungers. There was only 6 loungers, and even though it's posted, a half an hour, if somebody else is waiting, half an hour maximum, there were people that were, going to sleep and hogging the chairs, and there were people waiting. But
Yeah.
it was what it was. And the other thing that was different was that there was the big
Hydro pool?
The hydro pool
Right.
in the main and of what I'll call the unisex area. But then the hot tubs were in the single sex. So there was one in the women's room and one in the men's room. So you couldn't, as a couple, soak in the hot tub together.
Right.
Where on the Pearl there was a hot tub in
a
the
bigger
unisex
pool. Right.
area.
Yeah.
So and the Pearl definitely had more loungers. So that was a little bit of a disappointment for us. But there were so many other things to do. It was like, okay, forget it. I guess we're not going here now. Let's go do something else.
And if you go in there later in the day, like if you go there at like supper time, dinner time, like after 4:30 or 5, it definitely cleans out. So if you can go there at dinner time, it definitely clears out and it gets a lot easier.
Good to know about the thermal suite there. How about the casino as far as the smoke situation in and around it? Do you have to, transit through there at all if you're trying to get to, say, midship to the dining room or any pathways like that?
Yeah, it was very smoky in there. And we particularly are people that don't smoke. And so, didn't really want to walk through there. But the times you had to, it wasn't horrible. It just... It just was.
Yeah, you had to go through there to get to some areas. I can't remember why.
For the Stardust, for the big theater.
Yeah, you had to go through there if you were on that. There's the Stardust Theater has 2 entrances, and then the bottom entrance is where one of them you had to go through the casino to get to it. Mm-hmm. But we didn't really do anything in the casino. We would just walk through it, but there was smoke.
Yeah, but
wasn't the end.
You expect it.
Wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah. What can you do, right?
What can you? They got to smoke somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your ports of call here. So you leave Tampa. So what we'll do, because this was kind of an extended sailing here. So you leave Tampa, give us your first port of call and your highlight there. Then you can just move to the next one.
Okay. The first port of call was Grand Cayman. We had been there before, but we decided this time to do the Stingray City. So we took a catamaran. This was excursion through NCL because they gave us $50 off the first person on each excursion, which was good. So we went out on the catamaran out to Stingray City and was out in the beautiful water and let the stingrays swim around you and they bring them up to you and you get to kiss one.
Yes.
Which is sort of gross, but it's fun.
But it was fun.
And that was nice. That was a nice trip. Very, very calming versus like other ways you can get there or like these bigger boats that really are impersonal to go out there. This was nice on a nice little catamaran.
The catamaran was really nice.
Yeah.
And the thing that I loved about it was that it's not like a gated area where the stingrays are like locked in.
No.
It's a sandbar and they are free to come and go as they want. They want to be there because they're being fed. They're being, loved on, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
But you knew that if they were uncomfortable, they were going to go. So you didn't feel that like you're in a zoo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And then the next day, well, there was a day at sea in between. We went to Aruba. We had never been to Aruba. It was incredibly windy. In fact, it was so windy, the other ship couldn't make it into port.
Wow.
Yeah, there was another ship.
Which was sort of good for us because there was less people, but I think it was a larger ship and they couldn't get in. We had a lot of rough seas the day before. We had a lot of wind. And that's, I forgot to mention, Grand Cayman is a tender port, which was fine.
Yeah.
Aruba is, like every other port, you just pull up to the pier. We did something called the Cuckoo or Kanuku bus. It's this tricked out school bus that's open air and they give you maracas and they play music and you drive around Aruba and we go to a church. Then we went to this big rock formation and then basically we went to a beach. The beach wasn't all that good, a lot of seaweed at it, but it was nice being on a beach.
But there were water shoes that you could just use. You didn't have to pay to use them, but buckets of other people's water shoes that
weird.
can you just use. So
right.
And And then we wanted to go to Eagle Beach, I think it was.
Yeah.
So the guy in the bus said, I'll take you over there after. Don't worry about it, because he had to go that way anyhow. So that worked out good. That was fun. We had a lot of... And we left there at I think 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was a late stay, which was nice.
After Aruba, what was up next?
Curacao,
Mm-hmm.
which was probably my first or second favorite port that we've ever been to. I mean, it was great. Curacao is beautiful. We did a free walking tour. We found this free walking tour, on the internet, and we signed up for it, and we met them. In fact, other people on our Facebook group also signed up for it because I had mentioned it. And
we had quite the group going with us.
We just walked around the city and found stuff, and then we went on an excursion through NCL, which was a trip up to the north part of the shore where there was all these rocky areas. It felt like Maine, right? Where all the rocks and water splashes in. That was pretty cool. Then they took us to some place called Groti Nip, K-N-I-P. It's a gorgeous beach, for snorkeling. We were there for about an hour. That was very cool. And then on the ride back, we saw pink flamingos at some at an area where they all
Salt marsh.
The salt marsh. It was weird, So it was good. It was a lot of riding around. It's probably almost 2 hours of riding around, but it was good. It was a nice way to see the island, and I was glad. And then we were there till 9 o'clock at night, so we went back to the ship, had dinner and everything, then went back out and walked around, and were able to, obviously get back to the ship on time. But they light up the city really nice at night in Curacao, and they have this swinging bridge that's all lit up at night. It's gorgeous. It was really, really cool to stay there that long.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
Very pretty place. I would go back. I'd like to go there for a week vacation.
Yeah.
That would be a really nice island to go.
Curacao was really nice.
Yeah, it's a nice place. And then what was up next?
Dominican Republic. So we ported at Taino Bay, which is this really nice port where they have lazy river. This is all free for cruise guests. Lazy river, pools, hammocks, shops, restaurants. You could just stay there and be happy.
Oh,
right?
yeah. And there was enough hammocks and chairs for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, I think, were we the only ship there at the time?
There was two. There were two.
But there was plenty of room. I've been to places where, if you can get a hammock, you are so lucky.
Yeah.
Here it was hammock everywhere. Was nice.
And what we did there, an excursion we did, was we did this thing called beach buggies and beaches, where this was fun.
So fun.
They took you out on these dune buggies and you went through mud, and they told you to wear crappy clothes. You get destroyed. I could send you a picture. It's really interesting. We just got covered in mud because you're driving your own buggy around through puddles of water that had just rained the night before.
Perfect time.
It was so bad we threw our clothes out. We're like, I can't wear these clothes ever again. It was highly recommended, and it was out of my comfort zone, but I'm like, I'm going to do this anyhow. And we did
big time out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, it was fun.
The only thing is that I'm on the shorter stature. I'm 5 foot 1/2 inch, and it depends on who's talking about that 1/2 inch. And I had a hard time reaching the pedals because it's like a go-kart. So it has no power steering. The seat doesn't go up. I had to put a pillow behind me. But it was so much fun driving that thing. Yeah. I was having a blast.
And they took you to a beach halfway through so you could jump in and clean off and then get back in and go. So it was really nice.
When we got back, there were showers, so we could shower off. But we decided to just throw away our clothes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Purposely brought clothes that we would throw away.
It was pretty bad.
So we didn't have to worry about bringing back muddy clothes.
We were only there till 2 or 3, so we didn't get as much time at the special port, but it was okay.
But that was okay.
Yeah.
And then we sailed on up the coast to Bermuda, and we stayed over. That was an overnight. We got there around 1 o'clock, and we left the next day around 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we were there overnight, and we were used to that because we've done Bermuda before we were there a couple nights. The neat thing about Bermuda we love is we've been there before, and our son, who lives in Atlanta, arranged a business trip because he has to go there for business once in a while, which is not a bad thing. But we got to see him when he was there. So we went over to Hamilton and visited with him, and we took the ferry up to St. George's and walked around there and saw some historic things. There's a free ferry that NCL has that goes to St. George's in Bermuda. So that's really nice that they offer that. I love Bermuda. I can't wait to go back there again. It's just a beautiful island that it's just beautiful. And there's a lot to do there, So that was, and we left there around, I think 1:00. So Bermuda was not initially on the itinerary.
Okay.
Bermuda was added because they took Cozumel and Bonaire off of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
But it made it nice because otherwise it would have been like 3 days of sea.
Yeah.
From the Caribbean all the way up to Boston. So it made it a nice break.
Yeah, and you got to see your son too.
And we got to see our son.
That was really cool.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
Very cool.
That is so awesome. We were chatting earlier about you had a meet and greet with 150 people, which sounds terrifying to me. But talk to me about that.
After we booked the cruise, we joined a Facebook group, for the cruise. And I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's a meet and greet because we've been to one before. And I was like, well, there isn't one. So I'm like, I'm going to make one.
Let's make one.
So I created one on Cruise Critic, right? And then I made one in our Facebook group and created an event. And I just started inviting people. People kept accepting the invite. Well, before I did that, I did email NCL and I said, I want to do a meet and greet. And they said, okay, you can do it from 11 to 12 in the Bliss Lounge, first sea day. So once I had that, then I created the event and I just kept inviting people. Every week I would invite people who had just joined the Facebook group. And all of a sudden, like a month before the cruise, we had like 80 people signed up. And then I realized some of these people haven't signed up.
Their spouse
didn't sign up. I'm like, oh no, this is going to balloon, right? And it did. So we contacted NCL. We're like, is this okay? Could be 150 people. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And they said, we might have the cruise director show up or, but there won't be any food. And the bar is going to be closed in the lounge. I said, okay, whatever. So when we get there to set up for the meet and greet, they had brought out food. They had brought out pastries and drinks and coffees. And then right at the beginning of it, all of the officers from the ship showed up, except the captain. And they spent like 15 minutes introducing themselves. I was blown away by that. That was really cool. My creative wife created some awesome games for like we did a magnet exchange. We let people exchange magnets. We put them in groups.
Afterwards, people were coming up to me saying, that was so creative. That was so cool. We really got to know people. It was fun.
The cruise line. So that we get back into our cabin later that day and we get this special invitation to a VIP cocktail hour with the captain. I'm like, why are we getting this? We're not like special diamond status or whatever, but we couldn't make it because we had a reservation. But every day in our cabin, we were getting little like treats, like chocolate covered strawberries, random stuff, which
fruit basket one night.
Yeah, it was
cookies.
Yeah. So I thought it was great. We didn't expect any of that. And I was so grateful for everybody who showed up because I think it was just a blast and people got to know each other and you'd see the people walking around. So I think it was fun.
It was fun.
And I might do it again next time. It's fun, but it is a bit nerve wracking that day and nervous about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? At one point it was like 5 minutes to start of it. And there was a line all the way down the hall.
Oh, geez.
And the crew was like, can we help you? Because there's a line. I'm like, oh my, I don't know. Sure. So we got to make some good friends that way.
We did.
It was good.
How early in the sailing was this?
The very second, day after embark.
Okay.
Yeah, the second day.
First sea day.
First sea day.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that really helped.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I would probably do it again, and I wouldn't do it again to expect to get
that many people
to get like the stuff we got, the special treatment you could call it, whatever. I would just do it because it's a great way to meet people.
Yeah, it was
you know,
fun.
and people want to do it. People want to join it. You know.
Yeah.
And we've had people tell us, they've been to meet and greets before that were really like boring. There was, people just sitting around going, what do we want to talk about? And that was one of the reasons we were like, let's make sure people get a chance to mingle, talk about who are they, where were they from?
Yeah.
And by bringing a magnet that the idea was either bring something that says something about where you're from or something that you're into. Like if you're snowmobilers,
Right.
kind of bring a snowmobile
Right.
magnet or something.
Right.
And so it got people talking about where they're from and what kinds of things they like to do.
There was a lot of people from the New England area on this sailing because it ended in Boston.
Yes.
Mhm.
But there was a good amount of like folks from different parts of the country. We made some great friends with some people from
Seattle.
Washington that we hope to go on an Alaska cruise with someday. I hope they're listening. So, and we also, there's some folks from international, from other countries on this. So it was really, really cool, and being able to meet different people. I thought it was a blast.
Sounds like an awesome time. And I love how creative y'all were during this whole venture there. So you get to Boston. How was debark?
Well, we got off the ship as expected. As part of this treatment, because we did the meet and greet, they gave us priority disembark, which really didn't. It just let us get off earlier, but we weren't in too much of a hurry. We got off the ship. Boston, I don't know if you've been there before. The port in Boston is a very industrial area. It's it's not a beautiful Caribbean port, and it's April, so it's cold, like 40 degrees. So getting off the ship was easy. They had Homeland Security had like a web camera scanner, right? You walk up to it, it scans your face, and that's it. That was the whole process of getting off the ship. It was really easy. The problem was the escalator was broken in the
terminal.
Port terminal, which caused chaos. No one that was working there knew where to send people, go to this elevator. It was chaotic. But
what I realized is that this probably is the first ship of the year that has come into the port.
Yeah.
Because it's April.
Yeah.
It's New England. And they probably weren't really fully ready.
But our luggage was easy to find, and we had a car service drive us home because we were only 45 minutes away, and it was just easy, So, we were home within, I don't know, an hour after getting our bags, which was nice, So, and we've sailed out of Boston before, and it's just a different type of port. It's a really busy area, but I didn't think it was that bad other than the escalator problem, but whatever,
It was.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, looking back on this sailing, do you have any first-time tips to offer anyone either doing a repositioning cruise or just sailing Norwegian Jewel for the first time?
I think for a repositioning cruise, it's a longer cruise. It's easy to overpack.
Yeah.
We tried not to, but we were going through different climates as well, right? So we had a couple days where it wasn't as warm, coming back. So one of the first tips of that would be, pack just what you need.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good tip. As far as the Jewel goes, I think don't expect all the bells and whistles, like, the slides, the racetrack, the climbing wall. Don't expect those things. Be prepared to just relax and have a good time and not expect to be constantly entertained. You could do everything as much as you wanted. It's just, it doesn't have all the high end stuff. That would probably be my recommendation. But, if you like a cruise where you're going to see the same people often, I think this size ship is best for that.
Yeah.
Because you get to know people and you see the same people all the time, which is really neat,
Especially like in the dance club. There was generally the same people, and we made friends with people that wanted to be there. And that was nice.
Yeah. So I liked it. You know, I think that's probably a tip for sailing on that. Like I said, don't expect super deluxe everything, but fully functional, very friendly.
Yeah.
And
Staff was awesome.
Yeah. We had a great time. We're ready to book another cruise.
Yeah, I hear you. And probably another tip for doing a repositioning cruise like this would be to make sure you have a passport, because you need one going from 2 different ports. If you're leaving from Tampa and going one way to Boston, you're out of that closed loop there where you do not need a passport. So you definitely need a passport going from one port to another for repositioning or anything, a one-way sailing.
Yeah, and you know, if you live in the Northeast or anywhere where there's snow all the time, always fly down a day or 2 early. I think I've heard that, and get trip insurance, because stuff's gonna happen. You know,
certainly.
So we were careful with that, and we were also a little worried about, you know, sickness and the stuff, but we were really careful about staying healthy and taking our vitamins and stuff like that. So we, you know, they kept the ship clean, and I think it was an excellent time.
And washy.
There
Yeah,
you go. And in closing here, Ken and Andrea, your final thoughts of Norwegian Jewel.
Final thoughts. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. It's a great ship for its size.
Yes.
It's clean. And the food's awesome. That's probably what I would say. The food entertainment is awesome. You know, if you're wicked picky on things and always little things bother you, you know, maybe you should sail on a different line. But I think Norwegian is great. You know, we did a great job, I think.
And it was great for the picky eater.
Yeah. There we go.
Fair enough. Did you feel that the value was there for the price you paid?
Yes. I mean, what we paid for a 11-night, 12-day cruise was definitely the price was right, and the value. I mean, I was talking to somebody in the thermal spa one day, and he's like, you know, here we are, we're living like kings and being treated like kings and queens for a week. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I mean, this is just, think about what you're doing, you know? So the value of what you pay for, I think was spot on. A lot of value, because you get a lot of amenities. You know,
they're always taking care of you.
We've been talking with Ken and Andrea about their repositioning cruise from Tampa to Boston. I appreciate y'all coming on, and thank you so much for your time.
Not a problem. Thank you for having us. Yeah, we look forward to talking to you again. I really enjoy it. It's one of several podcasts I listen to and download weekly.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,